Thanks again for joining us as we're finishing up breakfast here. We'll go ahead and get started with our 6 inductees. To start off the morning, we'd like to introduce Dr. Jerry Farley, president of Washburn University, just celebrating his 25th year.
That's a long time. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Yeah, there you go. Got to have a little spirit on game day, as a matter of fact. Welcome. We welcome you to come into Washburn campus, come into this great facility and not be wearing your mask all the time. That's one of our rules here. And obviously we're not doing that today, but if you're eating, you can, it's a different set of rules. So we try to make it a good experience for our students. And so far this year, we've had great success. We haven't had anyone that really has come down with the virus. And we've been able to have all of the classes and almost all of the activities, including this. And we are delighted to see you here this morning. Makes me at least feel like things may eventually get back to normal, and look out across and find people that are enjoying themselves and talking with one another. So thanks for coming in today. We're delighted to be here to help celebrate those new inductees. When you look through and when you hear some of the things that will be said about them today, it's absolutely astounding. They have done some marvelous things. They have brought us a lot of activity and enthusiasm to their games, to their matches. And it makes it fun for all of us because we can operate vicariously because of what they do. Now, I suspect you'll hear this morning as well, there's going to be a number of these inductees that will be saying some of their classmates may have helped them a little bit to achieve all of the successes that they've had. And they have. They have been helped enormously. And have been helped enormously by people here in this room. Coaches, family members, teammates make their life when they were here really much better. But don't underestimate what it is that they can do. And we as a society, we enjoy sports. And in a newspaper, I opened the newspaper this morning. Well, I guess they call it open. And I use an iPad. And I opened the newspaper this morning. Things on the front page of the newspaper. Dreadful. Dreadful. But you go back about 2 sections and there's a sports page. And that much of a newspaper is devoted to sports is phenomenal. And it makes all of us feel good when we are participating like we are today. So we want you to continue to support these players that are on our teams today. There will be many of them that will be in this room somewhere in the future for all of the things that they've done and all the things they've achieved. And so today, let's celebrate with the inductees this year, and let's have fun this year. And let's go to the game this afternoon. Thanks for coming out to be with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farley. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and get started. We've got 6 inductees this morning. If there's anything good about what we've gone through the last year and a half, it's technology's increased a little bit. And so we've got a couple of inductees on Zoom, which will be our first 2. And so at this time, we'd like to start our introductions with Joe Hastings. Introducing him today is his dad, John Hastings. So give it up for John Hastings.
Well, good morning, everybody. And we, we're looking at that picture of our oldest son and, you know, our first one to graduate high school and go away to college. And only thing I can tell you is that his whole life, it seems like, he's always loved football from the time he was a little kid and throwing the ball around with a couple other boys on the neighborhood, he and Andy and Colin and Daniel Hames. But we sent him to school early. He went to start kindergarten when he was 5. And what we didn't notice was that almost everybody else in his class was a year older than he was. And if you look at all of his pictures in grade school, you go, who's that little kid with those other guys, you know? And so he was kind of the run of the bunch until he got into high school, but he still loved sports and he was quick and could catch and throw, you know, anyway, I just remember him growing up. And I just want to kind of highlight a couple of stories about him. In 7th and 8th grade, coach playing for the grade school football team, he was always hanging around the coach. And I didn't know this. We didn't know this at the time, but we're at a game and he's never playing. I mean, he's just a little guy and everybody else is head taller than he is. And they're down there like 3rd and goal on the 1-yard line, our team is. And all of a sudden we see Joe running into the game. And I think, holy cow, what's going on? And he gets in there in the huddle and they break the huddle and he lines up at fullback. He's in the backfield. And I'm going, what in the world? And of course they run a play and he just smashes right into all that scrum of bodies and falls back and then he's coming out. And I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was kind of weird. Well, later on at the banquet at the end of the year, the coach is handing out certificates and they're calling the kids' names and Joe Hastings and he gives him his certificate. And he kind of grabs him on the way by. Just come back here a minute, Joe. So I got to tell you this story. This is Coach Oxler. I don't know if you remember this, Joe, but he said, I got to tell you, there was one of the games we were at, and I can't remember the kid's name, I thought by the shoulder pads, and I was getting ready to call a play, and I just gave him the play, and I didn't even look at him, just shoved him in there, and it was Joe. and Joe just ran in and ran the play, and you know, it all worked out. But this kind of thing continued on into high school, and the first couple of years, the freshman and sophomore, he played for the freshman sophomore team that Coach Laubon, who I talked to yesterday, and he said, tell you congratulations, Joe. But Joe played for the sophomore team, freshman and sophomore team, and he got to play both ways, got to play every game. They were just, you know, scrimmages mainly with the other schools, freshmen and sophomores, but he loved playing for Coach Laubon. And I think he's continued that relationship with him till today. And, you know, and so now he's a senior in high school and he's still small, but he's catching up, you know, and he's playing wide receiver, but he's not playing much. And when he did, you know, not much happened except for this one game. And we had all our family from Kansas City there. There just happened to be a lot of his relatives in the stands. And they're running a pass play and Eric Runge throws a ball. And the guy that he's throwing it to hasn't turned around yet. And it hits him in the shoulder pad and bounces up in the air. And lo and behold, here's Joe screaming by and behind it, catches the ball and runs in the end zone for his first touchdown in high school. And the only touchdown in high school. So it was great. It was a lot of fun, very exciting. Well, now he's a college walk-on at Washburn University. And he was going to go to school at Friends University until he got an opportunity to come up and talk to the coaches. And it's fitting that we're playing Chris Brown's team because that's who we came up to talk to. And Chris, you know, really made us feel welcome. And they really wanted Joe to come try out and be on the team. And that's how it all started. So he'd redshirted as a freshman. And And then, it seemed like every time he got caught up, the first year, I think it was a sophomore year, he had the first ACL season-ending injury and had to have that replaced in the rehab. And he came back from that. And then there was another game, the second time, Glenda and I were driving up and listening to the radio, and it's the first kickoff, and Joe's coming down, shooting down around the end, and the guy ball zigged and Joe zagged, and he went down with a second ACL injury. And just, it was, for us, it was crushing, but, I can imagine what it was for Joe. But Joe, he had great people around him, great doctors, great coaches that helped him rehab, I'm sure, and give him encouragement. And then he had that wonderful final year. He and Mike Wilhoit, were kind of the top dogs on that team, the oldest anyway, been there for 6 years, and they had a great season. It topped off in the Kansas Bowl, winning the Kansas Bowl. And, Dane, I mean, you guys were a great pair, and that I think will go down in history as that. But we enjoyed it. So now he's being looked at, and he gets undrafted free agent from 49ers, Jim Harbaugh's first season with the 49ers. And that was the year of the strike, the player strike. And so he couldn't talk to him until the end of the player strike, but he goes out to 49ers and it's tough, and he's working hard, and he makes a practice squad. And Harbaugh saw in him something that he wanted on the team to help coach players up and help the team win. And they won the NFC that year, the national division. And so here he is, and he also got called up like 3 games before the end of the season. Braylon Edwards gets hurt, and they bring him up. So we saw his first NFL game in St. Louis. And, there again in St. Louis, he gets in. And, again, my brother lives in St. Louis, his family and a bunch of Kansas City folks came. We're all in the stands, and we're thinking he's going to catch a pass, Well, he didn't. That first one hit the ground, but the second one was 3rd and long, and Alex Smith drops back, and he's trying to hit Joe, and Joe's like breaking across the middle on a post wide open, and he gets sacked. And I just saw Joe go down on his knees and hit the ground like that, and so, and then they go to the NFC Championship, and we're there at Candlestick. They're playing the New York Giants. And, remember any of that, but I do very well, because it was a double overtime and rain, and we're up in the stands. Everybody's wet, and they lost that NFC Championship. So just that close to, being in a Super Bowl his rookie year. And then, the professional career kind of went downhill, injuries, hamstring. He played with the Mountain Lions for a while. I'm getting to the end. I don't want to belabor this point too much, but I put this down before you said it, Bertie, but perseverance and never give up. Joe's cup has always been half full, not half empty. And he loves what he does. He loves his teammates, his family. He believes in that, and it's what makes him a great coach. So with that, I want to introduce my son, Joe Hastings.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you guys hear me all right? Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'll get started. Man, I kind of got emotional a little bit. First off, I just want to thank Gene for setting all this up. He's really made this special for both my family and I. We all appreciate the professionalism and sincerity of how much you put into this. From when you first called me, all the way up to this point. It means a lot to my family and I. And I know how much you love this university and all you do behind the scenes, Gene, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Secondly, I would like to thank Coach Schurig for taking a chance on me back in 2005. You know, I had no offers, and I knew I wanted to play football. I didn't know how. I didn't know where. I thought about walking on at KU, K-State, you know, and going to Washburn was the best decision I made. And I knew I was going to have to walk on somewhere, and I couldn't have picked a better spot. And as I reflect back over the years, I thank God for leading me down this path, a path that at the time I had no idea would lead me to this and would have been made possible if it wasn't for Coach Schurig believing in me and not only giving me the opportunity, but also for being the one to recommend I come back for my super senior year after I thought my career was over after my second ACL. Thank you so much, Coach Schurig, for taking a chance on me. I will forever be grateful for the opportunities you provided me that opened so many doors in my life down the road and changed my life for the better. And it started right here at this great university. I can honestly say that you gave me the professional foundation for where I'm at today, and you have left a lasting impression on me as a player, a coach, and a man. I appreciate that you stay true to who you are. You say what you feel, and you mean what you say. As a coach now and being on the other side of it, I know you know that our goal as coaches is to leave an impression and to affect young men in a way that changes their lives for the better, to help them see and believe that at the time what seems impossible will and can become possible. And I can tell you this, you've accomplished that with me. You've changed my life for the better and helped me to make the impossible become possible. Thank you for all you do, not just for me, but for this university, the players, and the staff. You have left a lasting legacy on this university. I'm so grateful to have played a small piece in it. I'm proud and honored of what we have built here under your guidance and leadership, and I would not change that for anything. Next, I want to thank my family and more importantly, my parents. They have both been nothing but supportive of me from day one. No, we did not always have the most of everything or the money to have the best of everything, but they would not even hesitate to sacrifice something for themselves to make sure us kids had just enough. They're the sole reason that I am where I am today. They instilled in me at a very early age that quitting and giving up were not even in our vocabulary. They ingrained in me that if you wanted something bad enough, you'll find a way. They taught me discipline, responsibility, hard work, and anything that comes easy is usually not worthwhile. Thank you for always setting the bar higher than I thought I could go, and for pushing me to never settle or accept good enough, especially in a world where it seems like almost every other option or solution is to give up or quit when things get hard. To my mom, thank you for the countless hours you spent in the car driving us around practices, making sure we had the right equipment. Heck, I even took my game jerseys from Washburn before my last year and had you alter them so they fit better. You know, look good, feel good, right? Ronnie, our equipment guy, wasn't too happy about that, but I appreciated it. You were always there to be the voice of reason for me, encouraging us when things looked hard or bleak. You were that little nudge that us kids needed to keep us going. You were the voice in our heads that said just one more when quitting would have been easier. And more importantly, you were the one, sorry, this means a lot to me. More importantly, you were the one when I contemplated not coming back for that last year to give me the words that I still hear today. You said, well, the way I look at it, God gave you one more opportunity to play football, so you never know. Those words changed the course of my life forever and led me down this amazing journey that I'm on now. I can't thank you enough for that. To my dad, you're always there to keep me grounded. You're always being honest with me and being the harsh reality that I needed. You were never afraid to tell me what I needed to hear and not what I wanted to hear. You showed me through your own actions and hard work and perseverance what You showed me through your own actions what hard work and perseverance would get you in this life. You never made it easy and always challenged me in so many different ways that prepared me for obstacles down the road. You taught me how to be a man and a father. And my goal has been, if I can be just half the man and father you are, it will be a success. I'm so blessed to have you two as my parents, and words do not do justice on how grateful I am for all you have sacrificed and done for me in my life. This award is just as much yours and could not have been made possible without both of your constant love, support, and direction. Lastly, without Washburn, I would have never met the most important person in my life, even though we didn't know it at the time, to my wife. Thank you for being the rock in our family. The daily sacrifices you make never go without notice. I'm the luckiest man in the world to have such an amazing mother, friend, and wife. And through thick and thin, I wouldn't want anyone else by my side in the trenches with me. In closing, I just want to reiterate what an absolute honor this is for me. I would have never dreamed of this being a possibility back in 2005 when I first stepped on campus as a scrawny little walk-on. My only goal was to just do my part and to make the team better, let alone one day be in the school's Hall of Fame. As grave an honor of this is, what makes Washburn so special to me and holds dear in my heart is the people. I've always believed people make a place. There are so many people that have played either a little or big part in my journey. And I could be up here all day listing them off. But to my coaches, my teammates, the alumni, thank you. This would have never been achievable without all of you. This is just as much your honor as it is mine. Washburn has molded me into the person I am today, and I would not trade those years, memories, or the relationships that were forged for anything. All I've ever wanted in life was to leave a good impression on people I come into contact with, and to be the best and do the best job I can just to live life the right way. I try to live by the old saying, people don't necessarily remember what you say, but they will always remember how you make them feel. Well, I can say the same for this great university and the way it has made me feel. I will remember and cherish how it makes me feel forever. Thank you so much.
Please welcome our newest Hall of Famer, Joe Hastings.
Thank you.
Our next inductee is Logan Stutz. Logan's joining us from Zoom also. So let's hear from Logan.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I could not make it just under the circumstances and everything. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm out here in Boston, but I definitely remember all my times at Washburn, all the good times and coming in there and the impact that it obviously had on my life. Joe set the bar pretty high there, Joe, so I'm probably not as prepared as you were, but you did a great job, man. And congrats to Joe and to all the inductees today, guys. I think it's pretty cool that, some of us spent some time there together, and I obviously remember most of you guys, and we all had a great time. So I think that, that's pretty cool. But definitely want to thank Gene. Gene's been great when I was there. I got to give Gene a lot of credit. He's always had a smile on his face. He's always done a great job for Washburn, putting this together. And then Gene, I really appreciate staying in touch with me through the years and through my career. I think that's pretty special. I know it's always just been a text message or a quick phone call or something, but I think you do a great job of that, Gene. So thank you for that. And hopefully we can have some more conversations and everything too. Obviously being around basketball a lot, Gene's one of the best ones in the business. So Washburn, you got somebody special there. Probably next, I would really like to thank Coach Brown. He was my assistant, another person I stay in touch with a lot through the past years. Every time I get a job or something special happens in my life, he's usually on the list of people that I call. So I know he's probably not there today, but I just want to thank Coach Brown for always being there for me and helping me out in my career and in my life. I also want to give a huge shout out to the kinesiology department. I spent either my time on the basketball court or my time probably causing too much trouble in kinesiology classes, but you guys were awesome. You definitely helped me out a lot. a lot more than maybe you know, but I go back and I usually try to connect some with some teachers. For sure, you guys were awesome and helped me a lot and put up with me the most. So I appreciate all that. It's been great. After Washburn, I think one of my favorite memories with Washburn almost happened after Washburn. When I was head coach and GM up in Canada, I signed a former Washburn player, and just a fun connection there from a Washburn coach that got a coach a Washburn player in Brady Skeens. And we had a lot of fun talking about our time at Washburn. I actually just talked to him the other day and stayed in touch with him. And, you know, we really appreciate everything that Washburn has done for us. And it's been an honor to play for Washburn. So that's one of my favorite memories outside of Washburn that's still connected to Washburn. And then I can obviously thank my family, my mom, my dad, for everything that they have done for me. And my wife was with me all the time at Washburn. We got engaged my last year and then married shortly after Washburn, and has been with me ever since. So that's obviously been special to have a wife in the sports business that's always there for you and always supports you, because they definitely go through a lot in the sports business. Any wives out there that's a wife of a coach knows how much work and effort goes into our business, and having the support has been awesome. And then I actually have my kids. Here's one of them, Zava. She's been awesome through the support. Ellie, come here. Come here. Okay, she's not going to come here, but I got 3 beautiful daughters that have loved and supported me through my career after Washburn. And who knows, maybe one day I could take them back to Washburn, get them up there and show them where I went to college. So I'm excited to get back sometime and to show them around. So all in all, I'm honored, and I thank Washburn for this honor. And it's something I'll remember the rest of my life and take with me the rest of my life. So thank you.
Please welcome Logan Stutz to the Washburn Athletics Hall of Fame.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Thanks to Logan for joining us. Our next inductee is Sam Sissom. Sam will be introduced by Rob Robinson, former Ichabod coach.
Thank you, Zach, Joe, okay, everybody, congratulations. When you get to be my age, you start to see you guys, this is a true honor. It is something you will take the rest of your life, and it's awesome for you to have your family share it. I think it's neat to have Sam in with Joe and Zach. I'm gonna try to be positive with Sam through the whole way, but he knows that is not gonna happen. But I did want to start it out positive. When Sam got the call, Coach Sherrod called me and I was like, can I call him? Does he know? And we talked about it. You know, Fletch got in early, Trey, those guys, you know, they set the tone, but Sam was part of that group. Sam set the foundation. And when you walk out of this, you know, and you walk across the campus and you walk into that weight room, that's one of the guys that built the foundation of what Washburn football is today. He really did. Started as a freshman, both sides, and just built. The one thing that I always took away from him, if you told him no, sucker's gonna try to prove you wrong. Coach, I want to return punts. No, Sam, too slow. Missouri Southern, touchdown. Who's he come find? Me. Just like that mouth that's open right there, always open, and always had a chew in. So when we went to field turf, he'd come back and he's squirting water and he'd have the chew and the rubber and everything mixed in there. He'd have the trainer have to get a new one. Coach Sherrod never knew it the whole time. Every time Coach Sherrod walked by, he'd just take that little mouth guard over right there. But that was Sam in a nutshell. Always trying to prove a way to do it, but he's going to do it his own way. The biggest things that he taught were how to get away with stuff. There's great. I wish Joe was still on here. Taught Joe the ways of the world. 3 a.m. phone call after fall camp. That little Joe Hastings voice, because like his dad said, he didn't grow until he got to be a junior. So he had that little cracking Joe, Coach Rob, this is Joe. And then you just hear that mouth in the background. And so I know who's just prodding that guy right there. You know, that's before my kids were old, so my phone was on silent. I didn't hear it or have to talk to him that night. But that was one of those special that Sam taught him the ways of the world and grew him. But it was really neat to have, you three together, being a Kansas City guy. And the biggest things, that you take away from this is Sam did it on 2 sports. It is hard enough to play 1 sport, but 2 sports. Played for the late great Steve Anson. And Steve Anson and I office were caddy corner. So it was every day, and Steve would walk in and be like, guess what the dirt farmer did today? That was our lingo for Sam, because nobody knew that you could farm in Kansas City. Some was saying, and they were the only farmers in Kansas City, but Steve always called him the dirt farmer. And that name stuck from the day, and it was just awesome having that relationship. Anson actually, I think, with Sam kind of made the bond. We had a great relationship, but it was just fun to tell the stories of, what he did on the road and all the way, but he succeeded. 7 all MIAA selections. I mean, that is, when you read that, I didn't even realize that. I was like, oh my God, he's a short white kid from Kansas City, but 7-time, I mean, all hits leader, all this, all that. And Sam played in an era for football where you didn't throw the ball, like it was a run offense, and to have his numbers. So it just showed you what a great player he was. He was a pain in the neck to coach. But this is what you do, Coach Ford, because we've got a text line with Jordan Brill still. I texted him last week when Missouri's getting killed. I was like, we answer none today. Just don't, because Brill's going to fire him off. But it's just neat to see those relationships and build that. And now to watch, him with his family, Zach with his family, Joe. It's an honor to be part of you guys. And Sam, I'm going to get off here before I get you too many stories, because there's a lot of roads we could have went down here today, people, but we're keeping with his whole family here, and I saw his kids. I was like, we're going to let them have a positive experience. Sam Sissom.
Thank you, Coach Rob. I didn't know you had such nice things to say about me. After 5 years of playing under you, I don't think that's probably the only positive things you ever said about me, but that's good. One story I got for Rob, and it's a life lesson that he taught me at an early, my freshman year. I'm 18 years old, and I show up for the first practice, and I look in my locker room, and I have a helmet on, or a helmet that has the bar right down the middle of it. I have shoestrings, or my cleats. The shoestrings on my cleats are cut in half, so I can barely get my cleats on, or get them tied. So I go to Coach Rob, said, Rob, what? I need some equipment here. I'm not going to be able to practice in this. He goes, Sam, let me tell you something. He says, your best friend on this team is the equipment manager. Okay. So that next morning, I went and got breakfast for Ron Wessel. I went 2 days in a row, brought him breakfast, said hi to him, talked to him every chance I got. And after about a week into it, I got my new helmet, I got my new cleats, I was good to go then. All right. So, and I've taken that life lesson, Rob, and I've applied it to my job now. I have my equipment manager is my IT guy. We are best friends. I've got the nicest computer, I got the nicest keyboard. My printer works smooth. It's good. So thank you, Coach. I want to thank Coach Schurig. I wish Coach Anson was here, but thank you for giving that dirt farmer an opportunity to play 2 sports. Washburn was the only school that gave me that opportunity. I wanted to play 2 sports. I wanted to find a place I could do that, and Washburn was the only school that gave me that opportunity, and I appreciate that. So thank you, Coach. The culture you built at an early time, that competitive culture was uncanny. I mean, we were talking about every day in practice, and Joe can contest to it, and Jake LeBon's here, he can attest to it. Every day we were going against Fletcher Terrell. We were going against Kerry Williams, two cornerbacks that got drafted, and one's got a Super Bowl ring. So when it came to Saturdays, it made our job so much better, so much easier, because those practices were tough. They were really tough. but there's so much that I'm thankful for, and so many people that push me, that I played with, players, coaches. I owe it all to you guys. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. Okay. I got to thank a lot of Washburn too. I met my wife, Bree, at Washburn. She's, we got 3 kids, the mother of my 3 kids. And when I first started dating her, I don't think she really knew too much, because she got a t-shirt, the Washburn football t-shirt, put my number 83 on the back and my last name on the back of it. So she goes to the mall one day and some guy approaches her and says, "So you know Sam Sissom?" He goes, "Yeah, I date him." He goes, "Well, he's a heck of a receiver." She goes, "No, he plays running back." He goes, "Nah, I think he's a receiver." "I know, I've dated him. He's a running back." In the 16 years I've known her, that's the only time she's ever been wrong. But if you talk to her, I think she still thinks she's right. If it wasn't the number, but, thank you, Bree, for your support, your love, and giving me the 3 best things that ever happened to me. So thank you. Okay. To, the 2 people that really should be, recognized up here is my father and my mother. Dad, thank you for pushing me and guiding me. And when things, got tough, you taught me work ethic, taught me to never give up. I owe a lot to you. I appreciate all you've done for me. My mom, I found out in 2006, I was in between baseball games, and my mom just got diagnosed with cancer in 2006. She went on a 14-year battle with cancer, and her time ran out last July in 2020. I'll never say she lost. On the Vince Lombardi, she ran out of time. I'm 100% sure that she would have beat it if she had more time. She would have won if she had more time. But those 2, they played both ends of it, and I'll tell a great story and how my childhood was. See Coach Troop over there. I was 18. I don't know if you remember this. I was 18 years old. We're probably game 5, game 6 into the season, and we just got absolutely monkey stomped by Northwest. Right? So, you sore after the game. It's Sunday, and we're in the weight room. We're in meetings, weight room. Well, we're in the weight room, and I'm not giving him my all, and he sees it, and he makes an example out of me. I don't go down far enough on a hang clean, and he absolutely rips me in front of everybody. He kicks me out of the weight room, comes, grabs me out of the locker room, finish your workout. Then after that, we had, the weight room then was, it was a hallway, was the weight room, So we we had to go up to upstairs to do our core workout, and the whole team came together, core. And he calls me out in front of the whole team, talking about how we need to work harder. I was having a pretty good year, and he, told me, how many touchdowns you got, Sam? I was, I don't know, 6, 7. He goes, "You don't effing think you're good. You ain't good. You got to be working out," and, goes off. And I'm, 18. I'm like, this is what college is about? Like, oh my gosh. So of course I get out. I'm upset. Boop, 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 boop. "Dad, you will not believe what happened to me today." He goes, "What happened?" Tell him. He goes, "What's wrong with you? Don't think you think this is the first time you ever been yelled at? You serious?" I said, "Is Mom there?" Here. oh, you're fine. It's okay. You're going to be good. You know, so that's how it went. It was, you're fine, toughen up. It's okay. You're good. You know, so thank you for guiding me. Thank you for that work ethic. I appreciate it. So I want to congratulate all the other inductees. I read your bios and it's very, very impressive. It's a great class to come in. I thank everybody. There's so many people to thank at Washburn. But I thank you. So thank you.
Now to introduce Zach Watkins, his father, Bruce.
Good morning. When I think of Zach's football career, I always go back to his first year of participating in tackle football in 4th grade. He had just finished a successful season in flag and was excited to begin playing tackle football with his buddies in Pop Warner League. Jamie, his mother, was rather taken aback at the intensity of the drills and calisthenics required to condition the boys for tackle football. But I assured her that it was a necessary part of the training process for preventing injuries. After 3 days of conditioning, the boys got their uniforms and pads and began contact drills. Following the first day of contact practice, Zach was soaking his aching muscles, and his mother expressed to him that even though our rule was that you finish the season you committed to, if he wanted to, it would be okay for him to wait another year or two before participating in tackle football. He looked up at her with big eyes and said, "But Mom, I love it." We knew he was hooked. Fast forward to his high school years. He had a rather successful individual career, but Truman High School was never a football powerhouse, and he did not garner much attention from recruiters. In January 2005, during his senior year, we took a visit to Northwest Missouri State, where he had been offered an academic scholarship. But he was not too impressed with the facilities or the attitudes of the coaching staff. After that visit, he decided he would probably just pursue his education at MU on an academic scholarship and just participate in intramural athletics. One day, the father of a teammate who was being recruited by Washburn invited Zach and I to ride along on his second visit to a basketball game and meet Coach Schurig. I was not familiar with Washburn, but he insisted that we ride along. So on a cold February evening, we attended a basketball game at Petro Hall and met Coach Schurig in his office after the game. I could tell that Craig had had a long day and was rather tired, but being the consummate gentleman, he welcomed us, and I appreciated his candor and honesty. After speaking with him a few minutes, he quite honestly told us that he really didn't need any more linebackers at that time. But with Zach's weighted GPA of 4.2, he assured us that if he walked on the next year, he would allow Zach to practice with the team as a walk-on redshirt. We really thought Zach would end up going to MU. But a few days before the deadline to enroll at Washburn, he came to us and told us he decided he would like to pursue his dream of playing at the collegiate level at Washburn. So the scramble was on to get him enrolled and ready for his career at Washburn. Zach worked hard his first year, and under the tutelage of his coaches and All-American linebacker Grant Gould, honed his linebacking skills immensely. The week before the first game of his redshirt freshman season, he was called into the coach's office and informed he would be starting at inside linebacker. He proceeded to start in 45 more consecutive games in his career. In closing, Zach's mother and I always had a mantra for any event he participated in. It was run hard, play hard, and have fun. I think that should be adapted to the present day as work hard, coach well, and have fun. So Zach, keep living the dream. With no further ado, here's our son, a son of Washburn, and your Hall of Fame inductee, Zach Watkins.
Good job, Bercy. That was well said. First off, I just wanted to congratulate all the nominees, all the inductees. The accomplishments are incredible. The awards are numerous, and most of you guys got to play with or be around Washburn with at the same time. So congrats to you guys. Second, I wanted to thank Gene for using the worst picture he could find. Been around Washburn for a long time, and that's the best one we went with. So that'll live forever. Thank you. But no, Gene does a great job with all this, and he deserves a lot of credit. You know, I don't know any other way to start a speech like this and to say thank you. A lot of people have helped me get to where I am. Teammates, coaches, friends, family. First, my wife, Amanda, who's back there with little man. You know, I know we've been together a long time, and being a college football player's girlfriend and wife is not easy. And then being a coach's wife is not easy, but I appreciate all you do. Seeing you be the best mom to Parker has been incredible, but I love you very much. Parker, my little guy, hi, buddy. He feels better now. Changed my life in all the best ways, made me a much better man and father. So can't wait to watch you grow up. My parents, Bruce and Jamie, countless hours of driving to football, basketball, baseball games. You know, looking back, we didn't have much, but we had everything we needed. Sports changed my life, and you guys were a big reason. You guys always had a rule: if you didn't if you didn't have a job, you had to play a sport, or vice versa. So I always chose playing sports. Never had a job. But my parents have been to almost every game I've played and coached. My dad has been to every game except for the few that I played in Europe. He surprised me freshman year. We were at Western Washington, said he couldn't make the game. It was in Seattle. It was too far away. And we lose a close game, walk off the field, and he's standing there at the fence. I said, Brucey, what are you doing here? He said, well, flight delays, rental car hassles, showed up at kickoff, and I'm leaving right after the game. But he was there for the game, and it meant a lot to me. So I think they've been to every game I've coached at Fort Hays and Washburn now too. So I appreciate you guys and love you guys very much. All my coaches, especially my coaches here at Washburn, the 6 guys that were the first coaches on Coach Shurik's staff, Coach Shurik, Coach Troop, Coach Rob, the 2 guys we're playing today, Coach Cooper Harris and Coach Chris Brown, and then Coach Brian Miller. Those 6 guys really laid a foundation for what Washburn is and what Washburn football is. But especially to Coach Shurik. You know, I think Joe said it really well. Other guys have too, but you've been a lot to me and my family. You've been a great mentor of how to be a coach now that I'm on that side of it. You know, a second dad, the way you run your program and the way you treat your kids and you treat your family. You've shown me how to be a family man while you're a coach. It's tough to balance that, and you do a great job of that. And it's an honor to coach under you now. So thank you very much. Also 2 coaches, Coach Chris Brown and Coach Cooper Harris. Hopefully we beat them pretty soundly today. But those 2 guys gave me my first job in coaching, my first full-time coaching job at Fort Hays. And we become very good friends and stay in touch and talk pretty often, except for this week. So hopefully we have a good game today. My teammates, all my best friends, all the guys in my wedding. Joe was the best man in my wedding. I was in his. And it means a lot to go in as one with one of your best friends, but also we walked on the same year. We showed up in the dorms, hung out from day one, and to walk on the football team and now be in the Hall of Fame together is really special. So love you, brother. The committee, everybody at Washburn Athletics, Laura and Dr. Farley, everybody in athletics, the coaches I work with, administration, like Joe said, it really makes Washburn a special place, the people that are here. I love coming to work every day. I love my job, but the people that you do it with, people you do it around, are really the biggest reason why is this such a special place. When I came here in 2005, I was really just trying to see if I was good enough to play at Washburn. Kind of like my dad said, we weren't really recruited and didn't really know the process. Back then, it wasn't as easy as making a highlight tape. You had to make a VHS tape and mail it out. And, I didn't know how to do that. But Coach Sherry gave me a chance. And most things in life, if you start it, it's the hardest part. And what you make of it is kind of what comes of it. As soon as I got here, though, I knew it was home. I knew Washburn was the place I needed to be. I knew Washburn was the place that I wanted to grow up as a man. And, eventually with the coaching profession, Washburn's given you so much. It gave me relationships. It gave me memories. It gave me my current career that I love. But Washburn's given me so much. As a competitor, you're always kind of looking for the next thing. I never looked too far ahead. I never looked at the all conference or trying to be an All-American or the tackle record or the NFL. I just tried to do what had to be done right then. What's the next training session look like? The next practice, the next way to get better. And I think I use that with my players now, try to approach what can you control and how can you control that for the better. I'm still slightly obsessive about that today. Any competition we have, trying to win, try to make sure that that's been instilled through me from Washburn. To be honest with you guys, making the choice to come to Washburn was the best choice I've ever made in my life. It put me where I am today. It shaped me. When I showed up as an 18-year-old walk-on, didn't really have any expectations besides trying to make the team. And it gave me lifelong friends and a profession that I love and people that I really care about. And obviously it's led me to be in the Washburn Hall of Fame pretty graciously. When I was 18 years old and stepped on this campus, like I said, you didn't really know what to expect, but now it's given me everything. My family and I are Ichabods for life now, hopefully around here for a long time. So I appreciate everything you guys have done for me and my family. And it's a tremendous honor to be included in the Washburn Hall of Fame. Hopefully we have a great game today. You guys cheer loud, enjoy the game. But thank you guys very much. It means a lot to me. Okay, go Bods.
Now to introduce Kate Hampson, let's welcome Ichabod volleyball coach Chris Herron.
I brought some notes because I needed them bad. First of all, good to be here. Good morning to everyone. And, I listened to the stories that I were told just now from these folks introducing these inductees. And Joe, I remember the very first time I saw you in that little bitty tiny hallway weight room we had downstairs. And your dad's right. You did look like you were 14. I thought, who is this high school kid in the weight room? And, because maybe like Joe, you looked really young. So I remember it vividly. And Logan, thanks for all you've done for Washburn. I really enjoyed watching you play while you're here. I had the opportunity to watch these players, inductees, play, grow, become adults, and got to see and know some of the things that maybe their parents didn't know. The work ethic that these athletes have shown me, being around and watching them practice, watching them in the weight room, just watching their day-to-day operations is for me, it's inspiring. It helps keep me young. And so I got a big shout out to my boy Watkins. I've seen I've seen him grow into a really outstanding coach, dad, husband. He's a guy that motivates me on a daily basis. Anyway, I also want to shout out to Sam. Sam, I don't know if you know this, and you probably don't, but you helped keep me in shape while you were here because I was constantly chasing you away from my players. I mentioned to Sam that I might get him today, but it's so true. I left Lawrence, Kansas one afternoon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I drove to Fort Collins, Colorado to see a player that we had just kicked off our setter from the year before. She didn't see the need to go to class, so we didn't see the need to keep her. And she was an amazing player. Team's 35-3. We had all these really outstanding athletes there, and we needed a setter, and we needed a specific type of setter, specific person that I was looking for. And so I drove through the night to get there to watch this young lady who I'd never met before play in this all-state, all-star game at Northern Colorado University. We sat there about 2 minutes, and we decided that we were going to offer her a scholarship immediately. And so we talked on the way home because it's a long way from Fort Collins to here. So she called me on the phone. We talked a little bit, set up a visit. I got to meet, the dad came, and outstanding gentleman that he is. And she wound up coming here. And so, by the way, I wanted to tell you this too. I sent out a text to all Kate's teammates about 3-4 weeks ago, and I asked for their favorite Kate stories, right? And immediately 3 of them came back within a minute, said none of them are appropriate for your audience. Was that fast? Hey, I did find out though, a really cool thing I did find out about that though was Kate was the DD, the designated driver for the first 2 years that she was here. Okay, so that's really important, Dad, that you know that. Okay. I also found out that Kate leads the nation in the most times holding hair back while others were puking. Okay, so Kate gets here. She gets here, and the expectations are high. I mean, again, we only lost 3 matches the year before. She's coming in. She's a freshman, and so now she's got to deal with me. And then she got to deal with all these expectations of these really, really outstanding players that are around her, wanting the ball in a certain way, in a certain manner, and all that other stuff. And so, well, to be honest with you, she cried a lot. Her first year, she cried a lot. And yeah. And but what happened was this. What happened was during that first year, Kate got comfortable. She got comfortable in her own skin. She got comfortable with me. She became more confident. And the thing about it is everybody in our gym saw that if there was a score to be kept or a number we had to get to beat a drill, you want to be on Kate's side. And if you look at Kate's picture right there, those eyes are piercing. And I'm going to tell you a story about that in just a little bit. But if you're on Kate's side and you didn't win, you had to look at those eyes and you're like, oh God. And this is true. We had to convince the freshmen, the incoming freshmen from that point on, that Kate didn't hate them and that she was not going to eat their children. Okay. Her sophomore year, after our first, by the way, that first year, we struggled. Monica got hurt, the elbow, and we had a few injuries. And we still had a good year, but it just wasn't what we thought it was going to be coming off that other year. But her sophomore year, we took off. Our players got healthy. We had a lot of talent around her. She was really, really good. And that year, the MIAA was the most competitive it had been since I had gotten this job. And that year we played 7 5-set matches and we won 6 of them. I want to tell you about her stare and maybe some of my timeouts. When I call a timeout, it's not because I'm really happy with them. And so I don't bring them over there and love on them and tell them everything's good. And so, but Kate would learn to really kind of stick up for the other players. So if I'd get on to somebody, Kate, just stare at me and just give me the look like this, just stare at me. And then I wouldn't even be talking to her. And she'd just stare at me because she's trying to stick up for whoever I'm getting on to. And then so I'd walk away and she just keeps staring at me like this. So then I'd go back to the bench. Kate would walk out into the huddle, but as she's walking out the huddle, she's staring at me. And then she get out there and I can't say what she said when she turned to the huddle, but it starts with an F, him. And so, and she would say that often. And so what happened was Kate knew, everybody on the team knew Kate had their back. And then Kate would handle me. And she became really, really good at it. So with our team, with her leading our team that year, we won the regional championship and we went to the Elite Eight for the first time in school history. When we got there, here's what was waiting for us. We got to play the defending national champion, Tampa. Okay, they were the #1 ranked team the following year. They won the national championship the next year. They were ranked #1 the entire year leading up to our match, right? So this thing goes goes 5 sets, like it was our 7th 5-set match. And so we're playing them and it goes to the 5th set. And we had lost the first 2 and come back. And so I pulled Kate aside at the side, and I can't really tell you what I said, the exact words, because that's not appropriate for this audience either. But it's something like this. I looked at her, I said, if you set anybody else but Tessa, you're foolish. Not really what I said, but basically was give Tessa the ball and let her stop. Kate set her 7 consecutive times and we're up 6-1 and game's over and we win. So, Kate takes this team to the Final Four. I want to say that she was the glue that made everything go together because we had ridiculously talented kids around her as far as hitter, but they needed that anchor, and she was that anchor for that team. Kate's career, she's 128 and 24 in her career. She's the all-time leader in assists, the all-time leader in assists per set. She has 113 matches with 30 or more assists. And not only is that the top in the category, but that's 40 more than the next closest to her. And that's crazy, ridiculous. She ranks 1st or 2nd in 4 other categories, and she sits 5th all-time in the most career double-doubles with 55. She's a 2-time All-American, and she led Washburn to its first Final Four appearance in 2007. I am honored to have the privilege of introducing Kate Hampson to the Hall of Fame.
So I should have assumed that he was going to steal all my stories. So I'm going to have to wing this one a little bit. But I want to start by saying what an honor it is to be here today, being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And congratulations to all the other inductees. It's pretty cool that we all most of us went to Washburn during the same time. And Logan even line judged lots of volleyball games. So kind of funny. When Gene called me, I thought, that's really weird that Gene Kessel is calling me. I was kind of hoping that he found some loophole and I had another year of eligibility. But when he told me why he was calling, I was truly in shock and so honored. So like Coach said, I signed my letter of intent to play volleyball here at Washburn after I had graduated high school. I had a couple of other offers to play, but I just wasn't sold. But for those of you who know Chris Herron, he can sell just about anything to anyone. However, I'm sure it wasn't too hard for him to sell me a 35-3 record from the previous season. So he must have known from the first day that we chatted that I was just as competitive as he was. He came out to Colorado with Trent, as he mentioned. He watched me play in a pretty boring high school all-star game. But I guess I was enough, or he was desperate enough for a setter, that he offered me a spot on the team, and I guess the rest is history. I definitely have a lot of people to thank for getting me to this point today, and I'm sure I'm going to forget people along the way, so bear with me. I want to start by thanking the Hall of Fame committee. I know there are several other great athletes to come through Washburn that could be standing up here as well, so this is just such a great honor, so thank you. Next, I want to thank my coaches, to start with the one and only Chris Herron. Coach can be an intense guy. He really likes winning, and he's really good at it, which is probably why we got along, but also why we butted heads frequently enough. He oftentimes would pull me aside during a timeout, as he mentioned, sometimes to discuss strategy, sometimes just to yell. But one of these meetings that really stands out is the one that he mentioned against Tampa. I remember it a little bit differently than he does. We got our butts kicked the first 2 sets, and he was in a weirdly funny, laughy mood because we just got our asses kicked, I guess. I don't know. But we came back and won the next 2 sets. And I remember during the 5th set, he pulls me aside and he said, this is what I think he said. If you set anyone other than Tessa Jones, I will pull you off this court so fast. Which I knew was probably an empty threat, but she did have 30-something kills that night, so he was right, and we ended up winning. But the culture that Herron creates is truly amazing. We are a family. To give you an idea, earlier this summer, we had a joint bachelorette party for the Washburn volleyball team, and 19 former Washburn players showed up. So that's kind of the culture and family atmosphere that he creates. But the best thing about Coach is that he would do anything for any one of his players, even to this day. And I didn't always realize it back then, but you were the best coach that I could have played for. So thank you so much for everything. Next, I want to thank my assistant coaches. Just a sec. Trent Jones and Danny Mchenry. I think Trent deserves a lot of credit for convincing me to stay at Washburn during my freshman year. He was my setter coach the first 2 seasons that I played here, and he taught me so much about volleyball, but he also balanced Coach's personality perfectly and knew how to take some pressure off of me. Coach always jokes about how he didn't know if I was going to get back on the bus the first time that we played out here, or played out in Colorado, was where I'm from. But Trent made sure I got back on the bus. Trent is usually the more calm one of the 2, except for the one time that the Colorado Rockies made the World Series, and I apparently was not playing well, and he was sure that was to blame. So he let me know that if the Rockies didn't win, then I better start playing better. And then to Danny Mchenry, she was my graduate assistant my freshman year, and then came and took over for Trent after he left. She was always such a great place to come for advice, a calm to Coach's storm, and taught us to play with passion. I'd also like to thank all of my teammates. A setter doesn't get to be in this position without great players around her, and it certainly doesn't make the Hall of Fame without other great players. First off, my fellow classmates, Ashley Shepard and Kelsey Wigger, for ensuring that you always had my back and making sure that I always got to hang out with cool kids, even though I was far from that. And for being my best friends on and off the court. Molly Smith for being the best teammate anyone could ever ask for. She was the missing piece to our 2007 run to the Final Four, filling in a defensive role that we desperately needed as a freshman. Oh God. To Mandy Cox and Tessa Jones, 2 of the best to play here at Washburn. The first time we traveled, I don't know if Coach remembers this, but he put me in a room with them and I was absolutely terrified. There were 2 starting upperclassmen, strong personalities, but that must have been planned because they instilled confidence in me, showed me leadership, and encouraged me to be a leader on the court, even as a freshman. Monica Meesner, who's probably the best volleyball player I've ever played with. This girl had 2 elbow surgeries, sat out a redshirt year, taught herself how to hit left-handed instead of right-handed, and she was just as good with her left hand. Explain that to me. But she did save her good arm for the big matches. So, but she taught me to just play. Don't worry so much about what Coach is saying or yelling. and to shake it off. And thank you to Nicole Percune, who is not my teammate, but she was my freshman year dorm mate and was on the softball team here. I don't think I'd survive the dorms without her. Thank you for encouraging me to make connections with people outside of athletics. You truly made me feel like part of the Washburn community. And to all the supporting athletic staff here, the SID office, Jean, athletic trainers, the office staff, a big thanks. I know the volleyball team always felt supported, and certainly I did as a student athlete. And thank you to all my professors here as well. I started as a biology major. They told me that OChem was 10 times harder than Chem 2, so I decided I was gonna go to mass media. Every professor I met along the way here was so awesome and personable, and they let me pursue volleyball as well as a successful career in academics. And lastly, a huge thank you to my family. I remember my dad and I driving out to Kansas for the first time for my official visit in the dead Kansas heat in June. It was so hot and humid and something I definitely wasn't familiar with coming from Colorado. And I remember the water tasted absolutely awful. So my dad promised me that if I chose to go to Washburn, he'd buy me unlimited bottled water and a great fan for my dorm room. But he was my rock throughout college, coming to all the games that he could and watching the live stats when he couldn't, and supporting me every step of the way, even when I told him I was changing my major 2 years in. Thank you, Dad, for showing me what hard work looks like, and to you and Mom for encouraging me to play every sport I wanted and for driving me to all those sports. My mom was always so proud of my athletic achievements, but jealous that I could choose from more than just cheerleading, like that's the only thing she had to choose from. Your support never went unnoticed, and I am eternally grateful to you both. To Brenda for supporting my athletic and academic pursuits, and also sitting through the grainy streaming of my matches and those exciting live stats. And thank you for holding down the fort at home while I went away to college. Thank you to my brothers for instilling in me, my 4 brothers, for instilling in me a competitiveness from a young age. It was always about winning, whether it was cul-de-sac hockey, a game of horse, video games. I was always trying to beat them at something. And thank you to my husband, Emery, for understanding that competitiveness and fitting right into our family. We made vows to each other to never let another person win at something else, the other person win. So he still hasn't let me beat him at disc golf, but I definitely have his number in volleyball. Thank you for supporting me in my old people volleyball leagues and my coaching career and being my biggest cheerleader. Lastly, thank you to all the volleyball players who came before me and all the volleyball players now. They helped build the foundation to what this program is, which is now a national powerhouse. I've got one last Chris Herron story for you because there's just too many. We were at summer camp one summer, and all the Washburn players kind of coach all the courts, and Herron oversees everything. And I will never forget, he walks over to one of the courts with the little kids on it, and they're really struggling with the task that we gave them. And he stops them, and says, "It's not okay to not be very good." And we're kind of like, this isn't us, coach, right? These little kids. But it truly is a great life lesson that I've carried with me. Always be working to be better. But my experience here at Washburn was truly amazing, and I can't thank everyone enough for everything that they did for me. It's pretty cool that I get to be part of Washburn athletics history forever. I still don't think I've truly grasped that. So again, thank you for allowing me to be a small part of this great community.
To introduce our final inductee, John Mcgivern.
Been told to keep this under an hour and a half. So, congratulations to all the inductees today. First of all, I'd like to thank Matt for having me introduce him. It's a great honor and privilege. To those here today that personally don't know Matt, let me fill you in. Matt Cahill is a stand-up, honest, caring, and great person and friend. Matt's a winner, both on and off the field, a tremendous competitor, and was one hell of a tough football player. Matt finished his career as Washburn's all-time leader in total tackles and assisted tackles. His senior year, he recorded 120 tackles, and at that time was the highest single-season tally in school history. Currently, Matt is the 9th leading tackler in Washburn football. Matt was the epitome of a football player, no matter what the score, and a lot of times it wasn't in our favor. He played hard every down. He played smart. He played to the whistle, and he played physical. When you played against Matt Cahill, you knew you were in for a long afternoon or evening. Matt led by example. He did all of his talking on the field with his play, not his mouth or any antics. As a 185-pound middle linebacker, Matt was undersized, but no teammate or opponent ever underestimated his heart, his desire, or his toughness. When you practiced or played against him, you knew you were in a dogfight till the end. What was really unique to me in playing with Matt always, and I mean always, day after day, brought his A game. He never got anything less. I was told to keep this short, so I just have a few personal items I would like to mention. Matt, I never knew your dad because he was deceased before we met. But I did know your mom and your brother Mark before they passed away. And I feel very confident that all three of them are in heaven, looking upon you today with great pride and joy for the accomplishments you have received or achieved in life and on the football field. To Matt's wife, Liz, and stepson, Brock, all I can say is that you both hit a home run and vice versa. Liz, you truly did marry a great person with great character and who is and always will be a stud. To your friends and family who are in attendance today, I am confident that you are equally as proud of Matt's accomplishments. Matt received his criminal justice degree from Washburn and went on to have an outstanding and successful career with many accolades as a United States Marshal. His character, honesty, toughness, and work ethic were the reason I asked him to be the godfather of my son, Benton. He's a great example and an outstanding godfather. Finally, I'm extremely grateful and lucky to have had Matt as a teammate. And more importantly, as a lifelong friend, I know I can count on for anything. I mean, anything. Friends and teammates like that are hard to find. Matt, I'm positive that you will represent Washburn University, the athletic department, and yourself with honor and dignity in the Hall of Fame. I can't tell you how proud I am of you. You earned it. You're one of a kind. Enjoy it and save it forever. I love you. I would like to now introduce to you my old teammate, lifelong friend, number 50 Hall of Famer, Matt Cahill.
Warning, that was emotional already. You all can
put sunglasses on if you want. I play a lot of golf now that I'm retired, and as you can see, my wife likes to refer, she says I look like a light bulb. Yeah. But, and I also want to echo what Zach Watkins said a little while ago. I mean, Gene, you couldn't get another picture. My wife also said, tough love is the motto of our family. My wife also said, everybody else has got color. Did you play when there wasn't color film? Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank the Mcgiverns, John and Sheila, and their family for having us over last night. We had a little party, and some of my old teammates, one of my old coaches, got together and told some more stories. I also had a couple of my old teammates for the Marshal Service here last night too, and it was a fun time. We cut it short because we didn't want to get up here and be hungover like Kate might have been. I don't know you yet, Kate, but I'm grateful to the Mcgivern family. They've been a big supporter of mine, and we're family. I mean, they've taken me in and my wife in, and vice versa. They're just the greatest people I've been associated with, and that means a lot to me. But I'm being inducted with 5 other great athletes, and all of whom were like all conference, all Americans, all everything. And that is awesome. I get up here and I can tell you when Gene Castle called me that morning and said, we'd like to induct you into the Washburn Hall of Fame. And I'm like, did you dial the wrong number or something? I don't know. And I didn't know whether I was worthy enough of that. And I think if I tell you a little bit about it, maybe I hope that you think I was worthy of getting this great honor. And being the old guy in the room, I obviously glasses. So I have to, in the font, I don't know how to make, this phone thing doesn't work for me. So I don't know how to make the phone. But I think when you're on a team that is 1-9, and that's what my wife, once again, tough love. As soon as I got off the phone with Jean, I went up to her and I had, I was a little emotional. I told her they want to induct me in the Washburn Hall of Fame. First thing out of her mouth is 1-9, really? I said, yeah. But I need to, people used to always be asking me about, they would find out that somehow that I played football in college, and they'd say, what position did you play? And I said, I played linebacker. And they would always say, really? They would look at me, and say, really? I said, yeah. I said, they said, well, were you any good? And I said, yeah, I think I was pretty good. I said, there was only 3 things that kept me from playing in the NFL: size, speed, and strength. Other than that, I had it. But I can let me scroll down. I do have to tell you a little bit about my DNA. I think that was a big factor in my life and in my football career. And my father was a Navy veteran as a teenager in World War II. After he got out of the service, he went on to get a master's in civil engineering, was a civil engineer, met my mother, and this is all happening in Boston, Massachusetts, where my family was from. My mother was a nurse anesthetist at the time. She got married to my father. They immediately moved to Venezuela, and my father worked for Esso Oil Company before it became Exxon Oil Company. 3 older siblings, 2 twins right off the bat, and another brother after that. We were living in Venezuela. My mother was pregnant with me a couple months before my birth. She went back up to Boston. I was born. I think she wanted me to have a chance to become president of the United States. Maybe, I don't know. But after she had me back down to Venezuela, my, like I said, my DNA is that, and my siblings will tell you today that they think that their real brother was switched up at the hospital in Boston, because I was a terror. I mean, I used to say God gave me to my parents so they knew what parenting was about, because the rest of my brothers and sisters are the biggest bunch of goody two shoes that ever lived. But very, very smart academically. I have an older sister who is was a chemical engineer for Shell Oil Company for 38 years, president and CEO of a Shell midstream company, retired, is on the board of directors at Shell Oil. I have my other brother, one of my other brothers has a PhD in geophysics from Cornell University. I have a sister that's a VP in a Swiss corporation, a little brother that was a Washburn grad and a Washburn law grad who's a judge in Kansas City. And then there was me. You know, I have my other oldest brother that John mentioned, he was one of the twins, and he passed away 6 years ago from cancer. But he was a very smart man too. He went to college for a little while and said, yeah, this ain't for me. I'm going to go back and get a career. And he was a plumber and a home superintendent for a big builder there in Kansas City. But that's the DNA I had to deal with. I was the exact opposite of all of them. They were good at everything academically. I mean, I couldn't do third grade math when I was in the 10th grade, you know? And, but the thing about me is in my DNA, I could remember things that were, I can recite everything from old TV shows, movies, all the Clint Eastwood movies, being a lawman, you know, and John Wayne movies and things like that. My wife likes to refer to me as, because we would watch shows and she would come into the room, and one of the movies that I liked, that I watched, you know, that I'd seen before, I'm reciting the lines of the movie before the movie's reciting the lines, and she would just walk out of the room because she didn't want to hear that. I can remember things that were not important to anybody other than me. And she liked to refer to me as the encyclopedia of useless information. But it helped me out in my career. And, you know, we moved from there. We moved around the country a little bit from my dad. I grew up in Shawnee, Kansas most of my life. Went to a St. Joseph High School in Shawnee, Kansas, little Catholic school. That's no longer there. It turned into Aquinas High School, whatever. But I played 3 sports. I was a wrestler. I was a javelin thrower. Well, I need to talk to Coach Babb too, because I actually threw the javelin for Washburn once, just trying to get out of spring ball. They had a track team. There was like 5 of us, like 2 girls and 3 guys, and we went to meets. But I think I should be in their record book too. I don't think they kept them back there, because we were one and done. 1 year in track and we're done. They said, no more. We're not spending, you know, $20 on gas to get you guys to track meets. But my high school career, I had great coaches. Gennaro Maroc was one of the winningest high school coaches in Kansas history. Just a tough man, a taskmaster. I mean, he would teach us the fundamentals of tackling. He would teach us the techniques that we needed to be in the right position. He was very much team oriented, that if you do, before Bill Belichick, I think, he was like, if you do your job, the guy next to you does their job, and the guy next to you and the guy next to you, we're going to be successful. And we were successful. We were in the playoffs every year. We made it to my senior year. We made it to the state championship game. And we won 11 games that year. And that's a important number to remember for me anyway, 11 games. And you'll know why. But I also, my father, when I was a sophomore in high school, he contracted bone cancer, real rare, and this is back in the 70s, real rare bone cancer, and was given a 2 years to live. He ended up living 4 years, but he had 2 years. So after that, my mother would never go to any of my sporting events. She was the nurse that she didn't want to see her son get hurt. That's the only thing she worried about. My dad loved to watch me compete. And my mother went to my first varsity game when I was a sophomore. And what happens, I get carted off the field, put in an ambulance with a knee injury, off to the hospital. She never went to another one of my high school games ever. So we fast forward, our team was very successful. We had and with that comes all the accolades that you get when you're on successful teams. I was all-state first team. We had several guys that were on the second and third and fourth teams, probably, half a dozen guys on the team. And that's what happens when you win. And that was a winning environment. I was recruited to several schools, but I was also recruited by a guy by the name of Dennis Bean, who was the defensive coordinator here at Washburn. And when he came down to there, I know my coach, part of the big thing during my coach Maroc, he would want you to watch game films of your upcoming opponent. It was very important. And we would do it 3 or 4 times a week, a week before the opponent we played. So we would watch game, my father didn't know this. Thank God he didn't know it before he died either. I took a drafting class and my father was like, oh, man, maybe he wants to be a civil engineer, wants to do something like that. And I had to go buy the equipment and he went with me and was so proud. I'm going to take a drafting class. Well, the head coach was a drafting teacher. So while the other kids were over here learning how to do drafting, I still don't know what that is, drafting and using the slide rule. I don't know what that is either. I was down in the game room watching game films for my upcoming opponents. So I got an A in the class, but I still couldn't tell you what a slide rule is. But that was the thing. And when the coaches would come and recruit for me, he would tell them, this guy's a player and he will be your coach on the field. He's that studious when it comes to the game of football. And Coach Bean recruited me. I thought egotistically, I thought maybe I could be, maybe go D1 school or something like that. So instead of going to Washburn, I went to Coffeyville Junior College for a year, trying to see if I could get on after, playing a year down there. Because Coffeyville Junior College at the time in the 70s was it. They were the national junior college for the football players. I mean, they put some people in the NFL later on, but they also put people in major colleges. So I go down to Washburn or down to Coffeyville, and in the second scrimmage game, we were scrimmaging at Washburn. And one of those sneaky wide receivers clipped me and tore my ankle up. So I didn't play that year. So I didn't make the team, or I was on the team, but not in a playing mode, but I would sit with my foot in the ice bucket. And they wanted me to come back that year, the next year. They thought, I said, I am not going down. Coffeyville, Kansas at that time, I don't know what it's like now, was a one-horse town. And I was not, that was not happening. So I went back to Kansas City and started working in a meaningless job, doing nothing. My father was upset. He wanted me to go to college. And luckily for me, after that year I sat out, I was also, my whole high school coach asked me to come back and help coach his linebackers. And he also, I would never get to see him play because he put me with a former player of his. And every Friday night I would go to their opponent for the next week, and we would scout that team. And I learned the importance of scouting the other teams, and I learned a lot from that guy. And so fast forward, I was part of a team again. I was into football. I just love football. I mean, I've loved football since I can't remember when. And then that following spring, one of my teammates from high school, Mike Shiverini, whose brother Tony also played here, is in the Hall of Fame. Mike and I were best friends since we were in grade school together. And Mike had said, hey, Coach Bean wants to call you to see if you want to play again. My dad heard that and he's like, oh yeah. Coach Bean called me the next day. He told me that Coach Elliott was no longer the coach there. I don't know what the circumstances what that was or anything, but he thought he was going to be the next coach. He called me on the phone. He said, do you still want to play football? He goes, because I know you can play. And I said, yeah, I do. And he goes, well, come up and test out next week, on the weights and the running and see how we go from there. So I did that. My dad was pushing me out the door. I did that. I came up the next week and I signed a letter of intent after that afternoon and showed up at Washburn, a couple months later. Coach Bean didn't get the job. And there's a whole new set of Gary Hampton is the new head coach. And I don't know anything about them and he doesn't know anything about me. All I know is the very first day of practice, they said, okay, the receivers and running backs over here, the defensive line over here, offensive line over here, the linebackers over there. And I go running over there and I felt, I don't know if you've seen that Capital One commercial with Charles Barkley, and the little kids there. I felt like the little kid there and these are Charles Barkley's there. And, I pick you and I'm like, they're picking Charles Barkley over the kids. And I'm like, and he's going, yeah, I told you so, but that's what I felt like. And I think the coaches thought, this guy is 5'10", 185 pounds. How can we put him out there, And they knew nothing about me, but I gave it my all. Like John said, I always gave it my all. I always studied, even while they wouldn't start me. I had a new linebacker coach every year, and I had a new head coach every 2 years, and a whole new group of coaches. So I started from scratch. After a couple games, the linebacker coach I had at the time said, I talked to him about, I said, you're the best player in this position. You should be starting. And they said, no way are we going to put a 5'10", 185 pound guy in the starting lineup on our program, because that won't scare anybody. So that's kind of but I kept at it. I mean, I was in the film room. I played a lot. I just didn't start. They never started me for 2.5 years. Even after when I had a new coach every year, it's like, we're not putting that 185 pound guy in there, even though we're going to play him a lot. We're not putting him in the starting lineup. But I kept working at it. I had to. That was in my DNA. I studied game film, get ready for the game. I did everything I could do to break that starting line. I've never not started in any sport that I ever played. And it was just, I even thought about, so my first year there, after our second game, my dad had succumbed to his cancer. And I had some of my teammates who I didn't even, I've only known a month, showed up to say services. And that meant a lot to me. That's what teammates do. And I learned a lot from that. But, played on. Finally, and we won 4 games our first year. I think we won 2 games our second year. The coaches were fired. The whole staff was fired. We got new coaches. We won 3 games our junior year. Halfway through our junior year, they finally said, yeah, you're the one we want to play. So I started playing then. And then I played through my senior year. We won 1 game. And that was a close game too. I mean, we were teammates. We just were not a team. I see all you guys, and I talked to Zach at the reception, and I didn't get a chance to talk to any of the others there, but boy, I wish I'd had a coach like Coach Sherry when I was playing. And I had to be born 40 years later, but the stability that he has brought to this program and everything that has happened to this program after my time there, I like to think that John and I were probably the reason that the Washburn's program got better. They said, we showed them the bad, now show us the good, and that's, but John was a hell of a teammate. I can remember, so my mother, like I said, my father passed my mother started coming to my games again. And she would say, she didn't make it to all of them. She still had 2 little ones at home. But she would say almost every game, she goes, I'm sorry you guys lost, but I think you and John played well, you know? She could have not shown up to the game and just put the tape recording out there, you know? And what I've seen over the years here at Washburn's athletic departments and the fans and the flyovers and the tailgates, we didn't have any of that. When the one game that I think the radio guy, Jake LeBon, when he called me yesterday, I should have told him that, I think I did tell him that there was one game we were playing here at Washburn. It was in October. It was a Halloween night game. It was raining. It was cold. It was miserable. Even the cheerleaders went home at halftime. And I'm surprised they didn't go home earlier because there's no fans in there that they're cheering to nobody, you know? But you could look up towards the end of the game as we're walking up the field, you could look up underneath the concession stand, John's dad, Jack, my mother, and I know that Sheila was there a couple games too. That was it for the fans. I don't know if the radio guys might have gone home, so I don't know if anybody got to hear that or not. But that's just how it was back then. And I'm so proud of this program now that when, you know, people ask me about it, I said, it's unbelievable what they've done here over the years. You know, it's been a long time coming, but you're on the right track for sure. I do have some other things. I'm gonna have to look them up. Sorry about that. It's been an honor for me to hear, just for me. I feel bad that I'm not wearing a suit like, or a sport coat or something like that. I haven't put a suit on since I retired. I think I had to fly back to testify in a trial on an old case or something. That's the last time I put a suit and tie. I'm not sure they fit. But like I said, my teammates, well, and just one more thing about Coach Bean. So Coach Bean didn't get the job, but he's the reason I came to Washburn. And 3 weeks ago, we were up in Vail, John and Sheila and my wife and Chuck Lauer and some others. And Chuck knew Dennis Bean, knew the coach. And he said, I said, yeah, if you can get in touch with him, I would love to talk to him and thank him for, you know, bringing me here to Washburn. And we got to talk to him and I told him, he said the same thing he said to me a long time ago. He said, I knew you could play. And that's the reason I recruited you. I knew you could play. And 3 days later, Dennis Bean had passed away. So I hope we made him smile one more time. But, you know, I thought about leaving Washburn after, you know, going through what I went through, trying to get some starting time and stuff like that. But, you know, I had made friends, I had teammates, and I was not going to leave them. I wasn't going to leave them behind. I had their back and I know they had mine. And Washburn University and playing football here has meant everything to me in my life. I wouldn't trade one thing about my experience here, even though it was, you know, everybody has a story. Mine was one of, you know, not giving up. And it taught me lessons that would go on with me during my career life. After Washburn, I went to work for the Department of Justice for 32 years as a U.S. Marshal here in Kansas. I had a new team and new teammates. Being a teammate and celebrating victories with teammates is maybe one of the greatest feelings you'll ever have. Doing stuff on your own, you know, you're on your own. If you can pat your own back, fine. But when I went to work for the Marshal's office, you know, I had a new team and we had a new purpose. You know, we were catching fugitives, and that's what we did. And you had to work, and it carried on me. You had to prep for those. You know, you had to scout your opponent, and you had to know everything about them and their families and their, you know, where you're going to find them and stuff like that. So we had a new team. A couple of my old Marshal buddies here again, that they can attest to you. Craig was my last chief that I worked for. And towards the end of my career, he came to me and he was going to be promoted to the head marshal because the other one had resigned, and he wanted me to be his acting chief. And Craig played football here at Washburn. He was an academic. Obviously, he was the chief and I was just, but he asked me to be his acting chief. And I told him, I said, I'll do it for 6 months to get you through this transition. But then I'm going back to my job because the street was where I wanted to be. That's where the action was. That's where I wanted to be. And he agreed to that. I just want to thank again the Mcgivern family and hosting us. I want to especially thank the athletic department, Lauren and Dr. Farley and Gene and Matt Hutchison over here. They made us kept getting here so much better. I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee. I want to thank Bruce Steinbrock, who's been around here when I was, he was the guy who was calling me. I know what he wanted, but I still appreciate him. And he was a hardworking man. He did good for this university. I want to my fellow inductees, I just, my story is what it is to get here. I'm honored by it. I'll tell you that Washburn, like I said, one thing I forgot to add is Washburn inadvertently led me to my wife. And some of our old teammates every year or every other year, or whatever, would go down to the Lake of the Ozarks. It was mostly a booze fest, but, and that's where I met my wife down there. And she was the only one probably the only girl down there that wasn't having any of this. Yeah. She nothing. Yeah. Not even, but she calls me about a month later. She had my number. And I was working on an assignment down in Florida, and she says, I thought you were a nice guy and we'd like to get together and stuff like that. I said, well, I'm in Florida, but I'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks. And she said, what are you doing down there? I said, well, I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. Yeah, and so it began. And we started dating, and like I said, I belonged to a country club in Kansas City. I'd play golf, and I would take her there. After church on Sunday, I started taking her to the country club, and it was a great brunch, and prime rib and salmon and stuff like that. And I'd say, okay, you can go get something, she'd come back like one after another, biscuits and gravy. I'm like, I'm dating a hillbilly, but she ended up being, she was one of those, she grounded me ever since we've been together, and I love her to death. 3 years ago, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. I remember that day that we got the call that she had breast cancer from the doctor. We sat on the edge of our bed and hugged each other 45 minutes. And after that, she said, I'm going to put my big girl pants on and get this shit out of me. And so I said, yes. I had something to do. We were a team again. I had a teammate, and I researched the hell out of what we were going to go through. And I kept the medical logs, and the doctor's appointments, everything that had to do with that. And it just gave me a purpose, and that's what I needed. And it's something that was interesting to me. I had to do some stuff that still don't, drainages and different stuff. Yeah, just gross stuff. They're all done eating breakfast for a while. But anyway, she's cancer-free now, and we're living a great life. We're living a great life. We're up on the mountains. You'll know our house because it has a big Washburn Ichabod stone out in front. The last thing I have to say is to my fellow inductees, I've read all your bios. They're just so impressive. You are all here because you excelled in your sport and something or someone helped you accomplish that. Use what you got here today, the rest of your lives, with whatever profession you pursue and with your family and your loved ones. There is one of the best sayings that I remember from one of my favorite movies is Tombstone, where Doc Holliday says to Wyatt Earp, "What did you want?" And he said, Wyatt Earp says, "Just to lead a normal life." And Doc Holliday tells him, "There is no normal life. There's just life. So get on with it." But with that, use what got you here today, rest of your lives, whatever profession you pursue, and with your family and loved ones. There is no normal life. There's just life. And it's going to knock you down and kick you in the teeth every once in a while. It's what you do after it knocks you down. You can either give in and give up, or you can choose to fight. I always chose to fight. And I'm pretty sure you all do that too. Good luck with your lives. Thank you for this great honor.
Now to finish off the morning, I'll introduce our athletic director, Lauren Foray.
Well, I will be short. I would like to congratulate all the inductees. I think we should give them all a round of applause for this morning. You know, one of my favorite movies is Die Hard, and I like the when he says yippee-i-yo, you can fill in the blank. You know, I've been here quite a while now, and I was looking at the program, and I've been here when most of these athletes played. If you look at your program, the 5 in color, I've been here for. The one with the sketch artist, I wasn't. It was. You know, when you look at that, seriously, I mean, you look at Matt Cahill and Zach Watkins, look at that hair. I mean, they had to be tough, you know, to wear hair like that. I'm going to go off script here a little bit. You know, Kate, don't feel too bad. You know, you're not the first player coach has made cry. Yeah, I've seen you make a bus driver cry. So that's, Logan, you went through a lot here and you stuck it out, and I appreciate that. And it was great watching you play. Joe Hastings, coming back from surgery after surgery. Actually, after your second surgery, I thought I might race you, but then I saw you were faster than you were before. So I wasn't going to do that. Zach Watkins was a beast. I mean, it was so much fun to watch play. He just light people up, and that was a great experience. You know, Sam, I had 2 daughters. I don't think you dated either one of them. Actually, true story. My youngest daughter, I think when you were playing was about, well, I know you didn't date her. She's about 9. So you know, I'd ask her, I said, "You want to go to the football games?" And she said, "Yeah, I would." And so we'd go to the games, and you know, she would watch them. And I said, "You know, who's your favorite player?" And she goes, my favorite player is Michael Adubaton." And I go, "That's great. He's a great receiver." So we play a game, and we come back after the game, and we're in the car. And she said, "Dad, why don't they throw the ball to Michael more? They keep throwing it to this other guy. What is that all about?" That was you. So I, you know, with today's inductees, you know, athletics has been at Washburn for well over 100 years. With today's, I think we've had 10, 12,000 athletes come through here. Today's 6 inductees bring that total to 159 student athletes. So it's really a select group. You know, when you watch them play, you can tell they're going to be special. You know they're going to be outstanding, and obviously deserve the Hall of Fame. So it is with great pleasure and in honor of mine, on behalf of Washburn University, to officially welcome into the Washburn Athletic Hall of Fame Matt Cahill, Sam Sissom, Joe Hastings, Logan Stutz, Kate Hampson, and Zach Watkins. So congratulations. So with that, tailgating's going on. If you're still hungry, it'll be going on up until game time and obviously, throughout most of the game. So that kickoff's 1 o'clock. If you haven't seen our volleyball team play, they play at 6 o'clock tonight. The #1 team in the country, which is a great honor. They've held that for quite a while now. If you want to know about last night's game and what happened, talk to Coach Herron. Because, the first 2 sets, you don't know volleyball, were 25-8, 25-8. And then we lost the 3rd set. So I don't know if that was coaching or what, but came back and won the 4th. But there are a lot of players on that team that someday will be standing up here and be in the Hall of Fame. It's a very special group, and they're fun to watch. And then tomorrow, we have soccer at 1 o'clock. You can catch that before you watch the Chiefs beat Buffalo. So with that, thank you everybody for coming. Go Bods.